and welcome back to my channel. Today is the start of my beginner series and this is part 1, all about makeup brushes, what you need to get started. Some of the brushes I'll be showing you are no-named brushes from just a little makeup course I did a few years ago. They're still really good, I just use them. They just aren't a particular brand, so I won't be able to tell you where they're from or anything like that. But some of the brushes I use, like this one, are from Sigma, and some of the other brushes I use are from Zoeva also. They're just a couple of really good quality brands. I think they're quite affordable. I don't mind spending a little bit more on makeup brushes because they will last you a fairly long time. If you buy the cheapest, most cheap brush, it's not going to last you as long. So if you don't mind spending a little bit more on brushes, then I would suggest doing that. Let's get straight into it. So I wanted to start off by showing you what brushes you'll need in order on how you would apply your makeup. So first of all, we'll start off with foundation brushes. I'll show you the typical foundation brush. It's this one, and it's quite small. It's just called a flat paddle foundation brush, and they usually come in beginner kits or things like that, but it actually takes a long time to apply your foundation. So I don't really like to use these and I wouldn't suggest it to a beginner either. I like using what's called a buffing brush, and it just looks something like that. It's just like a flat top. You can get ones that are slightly different with a round top that I like to use also. You can see how much bigger they are than that little paddle one. These are really good for just buffing in foundation, and it just gets the job done really quickly and nicely, and that's what you want really. So next, after we apply our foundation, we apply our concealer. And with most drugstore concealers, they usually come with a little applicating tip, so you don't really need a brush to apply that with, but to blend it out with, I would suggest a blending sponge like this dirty little thing here. This is a Real Techniques Miracle Complexion sponge, and I just love using these for blending out concealer. It just is so quick to do and it just gives a beautiful finish. So I would suggest getting one of those. Now, after we have applied all of our base products, we want to set our foundation and concealer so they don't crease and they last all day. Concealer, if you don't set it, it can crease and look a little bit crinkly and wrinkly under your eyes just because it's setting into your little wrinkles, and everyone has them no matter how old you are. You can't really avoid that. But if you set it with a powder, it won't crease, hopefully. So I like to use, this is technically a blush brush, but I mean, you can use brushes for all uses, it doesn't really matter. This is a Zoeva 127 Luxe Sheer Cheek Brush, and as you can see, I've been using that for powder, but I like to use this size brush because it just fits nicely underneath the eye area. And I also set down my nose. I set my whole face with this little brush actually. You could get a bigger brush like this one if you wanted to do it a bit quicker and it sort of covers a bit more surface area. But if you want to cut down on brushes, just get this one and use it for under the eyes, on your eyelids, just your whole face, and yeah, you're set. I would suggest maybe getting a separate bronzer brush, only because I don't like to mix up the products. So if I'm using powder for this and then bronzer, and then the next day I go to use it and I want to use powder again, I might accidentally put a bit of bronzer on where I don't want it, like under my eyes or something. So I would get a separate bronzer brush. I like to get one that's a little bit bigger just because I like to bronze all over my face, like on my forehead, my cheeks, my chin. I don't really contour that much, I just like to warm up the skin. I like to use something like that, Sigma and Zoeva. I have one here by Zoeva, it's just, I think that's a natural haired one. And Sigma have something very similar to this as well. So it's just a matter of looking up if you wanted to look into brands such as Sigma or Zoeva, or go into a drugstore, supermarket, they'll have brushes as well if you just wanted to start off with something. So after bronzer, I like to apply my blush and highlight. Doesn't really matter which order you apply those, but I just use the same brush for both. This is a blush brush, it's a no-named one. It's just a perfect size for your cheeks for blush, and I just use it a bit more lightly on the top of my cheeks when I'm applying highlighter. So again, saving you a little bit more money. You're just using the one brush for two different things, so why not? Here's another Real Techniques brush. That's technically a little highlighting brush, I believe, and that's a bit smaller and you can do your highlight a little bit more precisely. You can also use this as an eyeshadow brush, or people use it to blend in concealer. So you can use brushes for lots of different things, but that's just what I like to use, and I just use it for both. So next we might move on to eyes, and the one brush that I really think you need for eyeshadow is a fluffy eyeshadow brush, something like this. This is just a Napoleon one. You can get them anywhere, any brand. There's so many around like this. I just use this for pretty much every eyeshadow look that I do. It's just so good at blending out your eyeshadow. You can use it to just put a wash of eyeshadow all over your eye, right up to your brow bone. You'd use a lighter colour for that. Yeah, but for travel and things, you know, I usually just do a really quick and easy eye look if I'm going out for tea or something like that. And I always bring this brush because you can't go wrong. You can use it for everything. It just transforms your eyes so quickly, and it looks like you've put a lot of work into your eye look, but really it's just the brush, you know, and you've just been doing that and you're done. The next brush that I would suggest getting for eyeshadow is a brush something like this. It's just a flat shader brush, and it's just really good for packing on eyeshadows onto your mobile lid, so the lid that moves. Half the time you could use your finger. You possibly don't need a brush like this, but if you weren't really keen on using your fingers to dab eyeshadows on, then something like that would be perfect. You could also use this brush for, you can see the lower lash line, I've just got a little bit of shading under there. Sometimes I just use eyeshadow to give that sort of definition on the lower lash line instead of eyeliner. You could also use it for dabbing some highlighter product on the inner corner of your eye. Obviously have to clean that off on the back of your hand or onto a tissue so you don't transfer any dark shadow on the inner corner, but that's another great multi-use brush as well. And the last brush that I would suggest is a great one, is this little pencil smudger brush. Literally looks like a little pencil, but I always use this brush in my eye looks, and I think it's a really easy one to use as well, especially for a beginner. As I said before, on the lower lash line, if you're putting eyeshadow or eyeliner, something like this is perfect. It just sits under there so well, and if you feel like you've gone a bit crazy on the outer edge, I just blend it up into my eyeshadow up the top here. You can use this as a miniature version of this one. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you could take some of those tips away on what brushes you will need to get started in the makeup world. There's only 7 there, so hopefully that's not too many for you. You possibly don't need to buy all of these, but these are the ones that I feel are the essential to start off with when you are beginning in makeup. I will put those links down below for Sigma and Zoeva, and where you can buy Real Techniques from, Priceline here in Australia. Stay tuned for next week's video on what makeup products you will need to start off with. Also, they will all be from the drugstore, so very affordable. If you liked this video, please like it, share, and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week. Bye!